Okay, hi guys. Just before we get into this video, I'm just going to mention that this has now become a podcast because essentially I had an issue with my last video, which some of you may have realized, those of you that saw it. I had issue with my frame rate on my video camera. I'm not sure why. It's probably because I was fiddling with some settings before. Anyway, I forgot to change it and fix the issue, and I still didn't do it. I went and recorded like 3 videos in a row. And yeah, the issue's still there, so I'm not going to show you an image. It's just going to be black screen, or I might put like just a stock photo up just to, I don't know, make it look a little bit pretty. But yeah, I guess just, I don't know, listen to this on the bus maybe, and use it as a kind of podcast, I guess. And yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I will fix it. I'm trying to fix it now. I'm not sure why it's doing it, but yeah, sorry about that, guys. Hi guys, it's Matt here, and first I just want to quickly apologise. I've got a bit of a cold. I didn't mention in the last video that I put up, but I have been really ill the past few days. I actually became ill just before a deadline, which is great. I don't usually get sick, but it was pretty bad this time, and I was in bed for like 5 days. So I'm still recovering. So I apologise if I'm a bit snotty and I don't sound very nice. But yeah. So today I want to quickly talk about an issue that I'm sure that every single one of you guys that goes through learning Japanese would experience at some point, and it's the issue of not feeling that good in like your Japanese ability. For beginners, when you're first starting out, and when you're not actually sort of like when you haven't actually done, say, like 6 months to a year's worth of like actual learning, listening passively to Japanese and actively listening and doing your Anki reps and actually doing lots of reading, you won't be at a good level. And so it's important to sort of accept that and be okay with that as well. You won't see progress for a long time. Unless you put a lot of time into it, and a lot of work into it, and every day, like every hour, and you're really, really focusing heavily on Japanese, and it's like the only part of your life. Unless you're doing that, you're not going to see much progress for a long time. So just accepting that you're not going to be very good for a long time is something that's also very important, and something to sort of really kind of really something to keep in mind, so that when you do feel like that you haven't made any progress and you're not that good, think about the fact that you have made progress and that you have made, you're better than what you were before, but also consider the fact that you haven't actually put that much time into it yet, so you're still gonna suck, which is just how it is, and that you just need to put more time in. If you're like me, you'll start looking at people on YouTube and you'll be like, oh yeah, this guy sucks at Japanese, I'm so much better than him. I had a phase that I did this, right? It's not very good, and I'd like to think I've changed by now. I don't tend to do that anymore. I don't care what other people's abilities are. And I would compare myself with these people that would have like YouTube channels where they'd have like loads of subscribers and they'd be teaching people Japanese, and I'd be like, wow, your Japanese isn't that good. Even though at that time the Japanese probably was better than mine, it's just that I seem to think that I was better than them. That's one of the issues with this, is there's no real way of actually comparing your Japanese with someone else's, because unless they're like absolutely terrible and like based on their accent you can tell they just haven't had enough listening or speaking yet. If there's like, say, someone who's lived in Japan for like 5 years and you've studied Japanese for 5 years, but you can both understand the language and you can both speak the language, even if one of you has bad grammar, does it really matter? I mean, not really, no. And so it's kind of like, it's this issue where like you're trying to big yourself up and trying to make yourself feel good, and I think there's a part of the issue is because no one that can look at your skill and look at your ability that you have produced and say, wow, this guy's really good. No one says to you like, oh my god, you're really good at this, because no one understands the level that you're at, because no one understands Japanese, right? And even a Japanese person will be like, they'll just say, oh yeah, you're really good, oh yeah. And so, and even when they do honestly say that you're good, you struggle because all of us know that Japanese people just say, oh yeah, your Japanese is amazing, even though it might not be. So it's difficult to tell from if a Japanese person is actually like, giving you a compliment, and no one around you that actually understands no one around you actually understands Japanese, so they can't possibly give you a compliment. Even if they say that your Japanese is good, there's no way you're going to believe them. So you get into this sort of, I guess, you get stuck with this belief that you're really good for ages, and then every now and then you'll start thinking, hang on a minute, but no one, how do I know that I'm good? And like, it's very hard to analyze your own ability. So, if you start doubting yourself, and then you'll go through phases where you think like, oh my God, I really, really suck. And you get really depressed about it. And some people can get really, really badly depressed about it. And it's, it's not good, but, it's a very difficult, it's a very difficult issue, because like, you just really can't judge yourself very well. You just, even now, right now, I think I'm pretty bad at the language because I haven't been doing much with it. But I'm still probably better than I think I am. And I can still read books. I can still speak to my girlfriend. I can still do daily stuff in Japanese, but I'm not amazing. But there was one point where I thought I was absolutely insane in Japanese, and I was really good. And then, a couple of weeks later, I was like, damn, I suck. And, I'm not that good at all. And so it's just something to bear in mind. I think just knowing about the issue, so it kind of helps you sort of get around it, because once you get into one of these dips where you think you're not very good, it can help you to, to sort of think to yourself, hang on a minute, I'm just, I'm having a dip. I'm not that bad. I'm better than what I could have been if I did like textbook study and standard study for the same amount of time. I've done really well for myself, and sort of, make sure that you give yourself the praise that you deserve. But I wouldn't go around comparing your ability with other people and sort of being, and like going into the comment section of like YouTube videos and being like, you suck, my Japanese is better than yours, because it just doesn't help anybody, and, I'm speaking from experience here, so and so, there'll be these stages, as I say, where you feel bad, and you just got to overcome them. They will go away eventually, but you just got to bear in mind that it's just your brain sort of overthinking things too much, because you just don't have any sort of feedback from the outside world as to how good you are. I think in those kinds of situations, the only thing you can do is just, keep pushing through, and just keep going with it. We all have imposter syndrome at some point. It's just a thing that a lot of people have. You'll start thinking that you're really good one day, and then you'll start feeling that you're terrible the next day, and you'll think like as I say, you're an imposter, and but you're not. You're still good, but yeah, you could be better, but obviously you're not. It's just don't put yourself down too much about it. Okay, it's not a huge issue what level you're at. That's another thing I wanted to talk about, and I think I might talk about this in another video, but a lot of people, especially in the AJAC community, focus very much on perfecting their Japanese. And I don't know if I've really mentioned this before. I don't know if I don't necessarily push it too much, because it depends on the person's own goals. But I personally am not going for perfection. I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm trying to improve, albeit at a slow pace. I'm not too fussed about progressing really fast now, and so I'm not obsessed with like native level perfection. And I think that's a good thing. That's perfectly okay to do. It's perfectly okay to go for native level perfection as well. I think that's two types of people right there. I just don't. For me, the benefits of going that far outweigh. The disadvantages outweigh. The disadvantage. I don't know what the saying is. My English has got terrible. But essentially, what I'm trying to say is, I don't think it would pay off for me to go for native level. Also, I'm just too busy with other stuff, so I just can't. I just don't have the time for it. So people who do go for average Japanese level, there is nothing wrong with that. Like, it's perfectly okay. As long as you are happy with where you are at with your Japanese, like, if you can read books, if you can talk to your friends, if you can watch anime, like whatever goal you have, if you reach that goal, or you are working to reach that goal, then that's perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing. If someone of a better ability comes up to you and says like, well, your grammar's wrong here, and your listening ability sucks, and things like that, just like don't let it get to you, because like, what do they know? It's got nothing to do with them. Your goals are separate from that. Your goals are different to their goals, and sure, you might make a grammar mistake once or twice, and it might slightly affect conversational skills, but like, it doesn't really affect it that much. If you can't read kanji, like, who cares? Like, sure, a Japanese person, like, if you go to Japan, you might struggle a bit, like reading a menu and stuff, but it's not a huge deal. You can just ask people and talk to people. It's not, And so what I'm trying to say here is everybody has their own goals. And it's just, don't let yourself get down from your own self-doubts, and also from outside external voices. Okay, if anybody tells you that you're not good enough in Japanese yet, well, unless they're giving you constructive criticism, then ignore them, because most of the time what they're talking about is just utter rubbish. And most of the time the people that are giving you advice for language learning don't know anything about language learning as well. So there's that. There's also that to consider. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say, guys. As I say, it is kind of a big issue, because it will get you. And having bad emotions, Krashen talks about Stephen Krashen talks about this as well, but he basically, there's like a kind of like a filter. I think he calls it the affective filter. But anyway, if you have like bad emotions, pretty much like negative emotions, then it like brings up this filter, and it prevents language acquisition. So actually having negative thoughts and going into like negative sort of feelings and stuff actually reduces the amount that you can learn whilst language learning. So actually trying not to get into these phases and trying to realize that you are going into a mentally, negative place. It's quite important, and it's quite important to sort of bring yourself back up. And I believe that this is one of the reasons why Math vs. Japan really, really pushes meditation. And that's because it can really help you with negative thoughts and sort of understanding yourself as a person better. Albeit I don't do it, so don't quote me on that. And yeah, so just be in control, sort of notice when you're going into these bad stages, I guess, where you're sort of going into negative emotions, and remember that you're not actually as bad as you think you are if you ever do get bad. And also try not to get cocky as well, because that just makes the down dips even worse, when you're feeling bad. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say really. So thank you very much for watching. If you found it useful, then let me know in the comments. Thanks. Bye.